Wait, you're telling me that whole set of meetings was actually productive and nobody flipped the table? All right, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine Podcast, episode 40, Clean Power Advocacy in Washington, D.C., where apparently things are a little more cooperative than we've been led to.
Good morning and welcome to Chaos and Caffeine Podcast number 40. So we're getting up there. In any case, a lot going on. This week I spent several days on the Hill advocating for, I guess you'd call it clean energy, but I was working with American Clean Power, one of roughly 200 advocates, meaning people from within the industry. I was one of the few consultants there. Primarily it was owner-operators, think a few OEMs, and so on. Large enough group that we split into groups of about 5 or so and concentrated on our own state. So unlike what I did in the past with SMRP and other organizations, now this is the third or fourth year I've done this. Now the second year in a row that I've done it with ACP. I did it once before as a WIA. SMRP I've done it a lot. IEEE I've did it a lot, and also for several different skilled trades organizations that where we were advocating for trades funding and so on. In this case, I've done everything from cybersecurity through to safety and so on and so on and so on. Energy, of course, has always been my passion. So we're going to talk about that briefly and what we were talking about on the Hill and what my observations were. At first, the coffee that we're having today, while we do this, I thought I would, because I stopped in Starbucks, did a few other things. I've been buying different coffees. I keep going by 7-Eleven to pick up lunch, believe it or not. So the one we have here keeps quite the collection for so on. So when I'm in the office, I usually stop there. But in any case, this one is a blueberry. They call it blueberry crisp. It's regularly there. I don't normally buy it because I make my own coffee, but thought I'd give it a shot because during my travels this time, I've actually gotten the hazelnut, which I'm not going to try here because I already had it, and then the regular. So let's go ahead and give the blueberry a try. Yeah, blueberry, I suppose, wouldn't have much of a taste, would it? But it's smooth. It doesn't do that bite thing that I like and so on, but not too bad at all. So I will definitely give that a thumbs up. And so let's get back to the fun. So I'm going to post some pictures up here as we go through. Illinois was one of the larger groups, so we split into a group of about 5. And our group leader was Lindley Derrick. She's with American Clean Power. So it was a fly-in week, so it was quite busy on the Hill. Lots of people there. I was actually surprised that we had a group of that size. We did it at the new ACP headquarters, our initial meeting the first day. All of the discussions around what to do, what not to do, the usual. There was a handful of us that had been there in the past, and for a lot of people, this was their first time. So we went ahead and had our first meeting with. Let me make sure I get all these straight. But the Senator Tammy Duckworth's office. So what we did is the entire group from Illinois met with both senatorial offices. Now, I've been to, actually, the last time I was at her office was in 2018, I believe, or somewhere about there. Could have been later. No, it was around then because we were talking about Raja Krishnamurthy's Perkins reauthorization at the time, which we at SMRP helped get through. So that was a lot of fun. Visits to the White House and a couple other things. One thing I don't like about these is the lids that keep popping off. So we'll see if I get covered in coffee. It'll be interesting. But we met with her legislative assistant for energy, really nice guy, and had good discussions around what could be done. Now, what I expected to run into going on the Hill was a lot of what you see on TV, basically. And what we got was what I was used to from prior to 2020, and that was more a lot of collaboration stuff. What happens on TV and what happens in person, very, very different, as always. I mean, on TV, it's for show, for votes, for swaying whatever political opinion. But even back in the day when I was in 2017 and 2018, doing testimonial on the Hill or talking on the Hill about some of the things that having to do with cybersecurity in particular, it was usually bipartisan, meaning somebody from both sides brought you in. So it was good. So this time I was expecting, because of all the nastiness going on the different TV channels, I was expecting that or this, that, and the other thing. And nope. While the elections have consequences, comments came up. That's really not the tone. Tone was actually far more relaxed than even last year. So we discussed how they could be of help, and that publicly, because Senator Duckworth takes a kind of not centrist position, we'll just say. So and again, when I go on the Hill, I have my own political views on stuff, but you leave those behind. You do not discuss those on the Hill. It's just not done. So what you vote for and everything else, you're actually talking to the person who actually is the representative, regardless. And some people take odd positions on that. I don't. I was actually not going to go on the Hill this year just because I didn't want to hear a lot of negativity. Because if you watch the news, it sounds like it's very contentious. It wasn't. So it was actually quite relaxed. So good meetings, good support for the fact that the wind, solar, and energy storage is understood as being more than just wind, solar, and energy storage. Right now, it's 85% of the new power that's going to be built. So why wouldn't you? And that neither here nor there. Things we were running into was anything possible to delay solar and wind, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If they couldn't get it, if one side couldn't get it one way, they're getting it another way type thing. But it's still moving forward. We've got a lot of projects underway in that industry. Now, I represent, being part of Seagray and being on the PES, IEEE Power Engineering Society's Grid Code Committee, where we make recommendations on grid code. I'm kind of technology neutral, but I understand the importance of IBR, or basically Inverter Based Resources, which is wind, solar, and energy storage, because even when they're not operating, producing power, they have the ability to do voltage control far faster than anything else. And that's kind of the position I'm taking on it. I don't have a horse in the race as far as, building a project or our company is not as impacted if IBRs don't make it. We do just as many steam turbines, coal-fired plants, believe it or not, and others that it's not from that standpoint. I see it from a grid stability standpoint, and I'll put the link to last week's presentation on the Iberian Peninsula and why that voltage control is so important. And with all of the data centers we're putting in place, it's even more important because there's nothing else in the grid that can react fast enough to the loss of a data center, meaning one tripping offline, which is instantaneous, less than a second, or the sudden training cycles from AI-based data centers, where you suddenly increase the power by 30 to 50% during operation. It goes into training mode, boom, you've got all that additional energy going on. The rest of the time, it's relatively constant. So a lot of those supposedly going in, although that's another story for another day. A lot of projects have been promised and then they die after the investor money runs out. So all of a sudden they go away. Everybody gets their paycheck and boom, they're done. But that's neither here nor there. So Tammy Duckworth's office, or Senator Duckworth's office, great first meeting, good start for the day. Gave everybody a feel for what goes on. We didn't get to see the senator, but on Hill calls, that's not that important. So the next one was my congressman. That would be Congressman Sean Casten. He covers both the MotorDoc business and where I live in his district. He's also on the Energy Committee and has an engineering degree and a biochemistry degree. So outside of the kind of takeover of the discussion, because I was hoping that the other people with me would tell their story. I mean, I had a developer for wind and solar. We had solar sites and everything else. But that meeting kind of got taken over by somebody who normally calls on them, which was one of the legislative folks from American Clean Power. And yeah, that's a criticism. I had the piece that I was there, specifically flew there to talk about, and that had to do with the importance of IBR on the stability of the grid. I got 2 minutes out of our half hour, and we were running late to our next one. And then everybody else only had a few minutes. Well, the legislative person took almost 20. And it was the same thing, I'm sure they always say, whereas we wanted to get the stories across to provide the ammunition necessary for him to move on. So disappointed in ACP about that. Luckily, I got a chance to get my piece in, which made that part of the trip worth it. So that was very, very important to me. It also means that I get to, I promised over some grid code stuff. The congressman was there. I've met with him and his staff, present and past, since his first year in office. So we ran downstairs to Representative Danny Davis. He covers a portion of Chicago that's District 7. He'd actually just been on TV with Melania Trump a little bit earlier in the day. So we got to meet with him. He was present in the office. He grabbed me on the way out and thanked me for being there. Everybody else had run out because we had 3 in a row, and it was like half-hour meetings, and we were right on the half hour for each meeting. So I spoke with them for a few seconds, held up the group. They were waiting in the hall for me. Same thing with Senator Casten's, Congressman Casten. Sorry, Sean. Maybe that's a hint. But anyways, Congressman Casten, or Sean Casten's new energy staffer, who's been on the Hill for a while. I know exactly who he is. I met him the year before. He in particular, I want to make sure I get, and I've got his card somewhere here, I want to make sure I get the information on the grid code work that we're doing at IEEE to support the reasons for IBR. Now, that's a fight we're doing there. So we're not going to, I'll get into the grid code a little later once we get some finalized things. It's based upon the original 2018 work we did. But anyways, so Congressman Davis, he's retiring after this cycle. He's been very good for Illinois. and especially the things that he well, we'll just say, not exactly what I follow. I tend to be more on the middle conservative. I mean, I came up in the Reagan Navy, right? But very, very good. Listened every year. Basically was working on something, so we were dealing with his legislative assistant and on energy and a couple other things. But he was definitely listening. And then we ran over to Congressman Quigley's office. Now, this would be the first time I was at that office, and that also went quite well. Met again with primarily the legislative assistant. Now, I know you're wondering, oh my gosh, you're meeting with the legislative assistants, and Sean Casten's gentleman has definitely been around for a while, but most of the other ones, probably in their 20s, maybe 30. One was definitely younger, and doesn't matter. They know their stuff. That's all they work on. And having called on the Hill, like I said, since 1993, wasn't surprised. A lot of people are when you go on the Hill that you're not meeting with the figurehead, which most of them are, with a few exceptions. Sean Casten's one of those exceptions, as well as our final one. So the whole group got back together for Illinois. The Illinois group was roughly a dozen of us when we were in the senator's offices. So Senator Durbin, he is retiring at this year. I think it's this year. This is his last term. But his legislative assistants were the same ones as before, very, very knowledgeable. I met them a year ago. We talked primarily a year ago about data center stuff. This year didn't get to cover as much. They kind of hurried us out, probably because our discussions were similar to what we had the year before. Some of the other people that joined us for that meeting were the ones that were there before. Senator Durbin, he's a figurehead in the government. He is centrist Democrat, and I know that I met primarily with Democrats this year. Last year we had some Republicans. The other group went and met with Republicans as well, but it doesn't matter. I would like to see more focus on certain areas because the message needs to get out there that it's not about birds, and we know about the bird thing, and it's not about all the other stuff that's being said for crowd pleasing, but it's more, energy stability. It's more jobs, definitely. I mean, there's going to be more jobs in IBR and distributed energy, the smaller turbines, than there will be in all the data centers that go up. Once a data center is built, you only need a few people basically to run them. Some of the ones I've been to are lights out facilities. So when you're talking about jobs, power generation produces far more, including supporting organizations. Yeah, that's not too bad. So anyways, this is a short one. I just wanted to get you guys up to date on this. Other things that occurred on this trip were some meetings like with Brian Bieschi and a few other folks from that area having to do with some of the other projects we're involved in. The Brian Bieschi thing was really nice to get out and see him. We haven't seen each other face to face in about a year. He's also a Navy veteran. And then drove home. I did drive out there and back. So made that a 2-day drive on the way back. Part of the reason was to get a lot of business done, and really be quite blunt, my plane probably would have been postponed or canceled for the return trip. But I did get a lot of calls in that I needed to do. I have some collaborative work with some universities that we're talking about still, and so on and so on, having to do with electrical and current signature analysis. Also putting together a couple of things I can't talk about yet, but also having to do with ESA and current signature. So it's been interesting. Next week, I'm going to take a turn a little bit, and we're going to get back into some technical stuff. I'm going to talk specifically on the topic of electric machinery root cause analysis and some of the steps and methods for that. I'll also update everybody on what's going on with some of the standards we're involved in for electrical testing, as well as some of the stuff that's coming up this summer. And that's it. So I've ummed and ahed enough today. We've talked about the government a little bit. And like I said, it was not that contentious at all, as I kind of, for whatever reason, again, I have to keep reminding myself, stop watching the news. It's completely worthless, either side. Whether you watch any of the big news guys or you watch it online, it's all BS. Everybody has an opinion. Usually they're wrong because they're watching the actors at play. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of work getting done. Amazingly so. I was really, really, really happy to see that. And that's what my experience has been for years. I don't see the big urgencies, and when you watch a news program and everybody's speaking like, oh my god, and they're out of breath, they're trying to get you to watch so that they can sell commercial time, or they take a certain tone, like one channel has gone a little more religious, another channel has gone the exact opposite. Everybody's saying, oh, we need more TV, we need another this going on or that going on. That's what's driving that tone, the divisiveness. I actually, interestingly, this was the least divisive trip to the Hill I've had in about a decade. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what turns out this year. So with that, have a great weekend. Don't worry, the union is strong, believe it or not. And let's see what happens with IBRs over the next year. I'm expecting things are going to be better than you hear. Have a good day.